Now, here at home, we could be spending the festive season in the dark. Eskom has warned that power cuts will continue over the next few months. The power utility says it will be working on projects and repairs and does not have money anymore to spend on diesel. So brace yourself. Well, let's discuss this now with Hilton Trollip. He's a fellow in the University of Cape Town's Global Risk Governance Program. Dark days seem to be set to stay with us here. Hilton, welcome to today. Thank you very much for joining us on eNCA. There was not much comfort, in my view, from what came out from Eskom's briefing today. Really much of the same kind of message.
Good afternoon, Dan. Thanks for inviting me. Yes, you're correct. It's very much the same message. Nothing's really changed, although things have changed a bit. They're getting worse. The coal fleet is getting older, and as the Eskom executives explained, they don't have time to fix them properly when they do take them offline, because there's so much demand. So they take them offline, they just get them going again, or they break down, they just get them going again, and they put them back on the road. And they also showed very interesting data that for the past more than 10 years, compared to similar coal-fired power stations, and that's where all the problem is with the coal-fired power stations, the problems with the existing coal-fired power stations, they showed they had a comparison with countries all over the world with similarly aged power stations and how hard they'd been run. In other words, how much time they'd been kept online without maintenance, etc. And you see from the South African figures that from the mid-2000s, that number just goes up and up and up. So we've not only are our stations old, but we've hammered them. And so what's changing in the real world of coal-fired power stations is they're all getting into worse condition. I think Eskom were also more frank than they've been for quite some time about the fact that they don't have cash. They used the word cash many times. They don't have cash for maintenance. They don't have cash for diesel. So things cannot get better. And then the other thing, this did stay the same, and that is with incredible tolerance and in a sober way, the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Oberholzer, he said that these aren't his words, but these are my words, this is a stopgap, keeping these power stations going. What we need to do is we need to get new capacity onto the system. He said this very, very clearly. They said this 2 years ago. They said this last year in their official reports. They said over and over, we need 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts of new generating capacity. And then, Dan, you'll know from previous interactions, I get a little bit academic and I say, if you read the law and the Constitution and the regulations and who's responsible for what, Eskom can't just put power stations onto its grid. That process has to be initiated by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy for a large-scale program. Yeah, and that's where we're stuck.
Yeah, and very briefly, Hilton, in the last minute or so we have, and that Ministry of Minerals, Resources and Energy is focusing so much on these renewable energy projects, which will add some level of capacity on the grid in 2 to 3 years' time. Not enough to cover the need that you've just expressed.
Actually, the DMRE talk a lot about renewable energy, but I've just done an analysis, and only about 0.5 megawatt of new contracts have been signed since 2014 for new generation capacity. It's mostly renewables, and that is correct. Renewables are the solution, and we can talk more about that at some stage. It is absolutely certain according to independent modeling. And also they come onto the grid much faster than anything else. A new coal-fired power station will take a minimum 7-8 years to get onto the grid. So that is where the solution lies. The DMRE is meant to be making sure that they are invested in. And, you know, I was listening on eNCA, I looked on YouTube 9 days ago. Simelane is his name, one of your anchors. Had a
Simelane.
Exactly, with the energy minister. And the energy minister said renewables is the responsibility of the presidency. And I don't believe Eskom that they can't make the coal-fired power stations work. So it sounds as though the energy ministry and Eskom are on separate planets. They are in different universes. And I must say that independent analysis agrees much more with the story coming out of Eskom and the story coming out of the DMRE. And that's where we have to look for a solution to the DMRE or the presidency, which we've seen is increasingly happening when recalcitrant ministries won't implement policy. The president just has to step in with Operation Vulindlela. And I think that's what's going to happen.